is John.
My name is Dan Smith. And we are with Liz News.
Alright, this segment we're going to talk about is on major features of life
of the old regime. Pre-revolutionary Europe was based on aristocratic elites possessing a wide variety of inherited legal privileges, established churchhood intimately related to state and aristocracy, and urban labor force usually organized into guilds for rural parasitry, subject to high taxes and feudal dues.
During the 18th century, the past weighed more heavily on people's minds than it did on the future.
Both nobles and peasants repeatedly called for the restoration of traditional or customary rights.
Closely related to traditional social and economic outlook was a hierarchical structure of society.
In several continental cities, sumptuary laws regulating the dress of different classes remained on the books.
Each state or society was considered a community composed of numerous smaller communities.
A person enjoyed such rights and privileges as were guaranteed to the particular communities or groups of which she or he was a part. The community might include the village, municipality, or the nobility, the church, the guild, or parish. Now we will return to Ronald on our segment of aristocracy. Ronald?
The 18th century is a very dominant era of aristocracy. This social class of nobility consisted only 1 to 5% of the population. And even though nobles were scarce in society, they were the wealthiest and most dominant group of people in society. Even though the aristocracy was dominant in the same economic areas where they were different depending on location. Now we look to one of our British nobles. Now you can tell us a little about your type of aristocracy and how your nobles fit into society.
Our nobility is certainly the smallest, wealthiest, and most socially responsible of all the aristocracy. Each of our nobles constitute about 400 families. Most of our families have positions in the House of Commons and House of Lords.
What are these houses you speak of?
Basically houses of parliament for our government. We nobles own 1/4 of all arable land and invest in things like commerce, canals, urban real estate, mines, and industrial ventures.
Wow, you guys surely make a lot of money.
We do have to make our living. We have immense power in our government due to our high position in government.
Now let's go back to Ronald for our report in France for a segment on the French nobility.
Now I'm reporting in France to have a talk with one of the nobles that are part of the French aristocracy here.
Bonjour.
Can you just tell us a little about the nobles' role in society here?
Well, we are very divided part of society. There are about 400,000 of us nobles that are divided between the nobles of the sword, which I am a part of, and nobles of the robe. Both of these groups have had conflicts, but we usually cooperate, defend our common privileges.
Are many more divisions within your nobility?
Well, as a matter of fact, there is. We are also divided by nobles who hold office and those who do not. We are so powerful due to our hold on government either way.
So can you give us some examples on your office holding?
Well, we have appointments in the church, army, and the bureaucracy. I believe that's it for what we hold, but other positions that are high in society usually belong to us.
What type of benefits do you guys get for being such a high class?
We are exempted from most taxes, and we rarely only have to pay our own income tax, which is the VGT. Also, we are not reliable for forced labor, and we like to collect feudal dues.
We're back to Ronald, one more time in Eastern Europe.
I am here in Eastern Europe to do a segment on the nobility. Now I'll talk to a local noble about what they do in society.
Hello, I am one of many nobles that are in Eastern Europe. What questions do you have for me concerning my social class?
Can you just explain to us what you nobles do here in society?
We nobles have very high positions in military like Poland, while in Austria and Hungary we possess control and judicial power. We, also don't want to get taxed. While in Prussia, junker nobles recently became very powerful due to military positions.
Nobles sure do have a lot of power in a lot of places.
Why, yes we do.
Alright, thank you, Ron, in covering the aristocracy and...
Wait, I have one more segment.
Well, the aristocratic resurgence was a nobility's reaction to threat to their social position and privileges that they left in the expanding power of the monarch. This resurgence has several forms.
What are they?
First, all nobilities tried to preserve their exclusiveness by making it more difficult to become a noble. Second, they pushed to reserve appointments to officer corps of army, senior posts in bureaucracy, and government ministries, and upper ranks of church exclusively for nobles. Third, nobles attempted to use authority of existing aristocracy, control institutions against the power of monarchies. Fourth, was the nobles sought to improve its financial position by gaining further exemptions from taxation or by collecting higher rents or long-forgotten feudal dues from peasantry.
On the aristocrats.
Hang on, kid. Did you know that the household was a basic unit of production and consumption?
No, I didn't. Tell me more.
Well, most Europeans lived in rural areas. There, along with small towns and cities, the household economic organization, the family economy developed. It prevailed over most Europe for centuries.
Gee whizzers.
What was a household in pre-industrial Europe of the old regime?
Well, there were two basic models, one characterizing northwestern Europe and one characterizing eastern Europe.
In northwestern Europe, the household consisted of a married couple, their children in their early teenage years, and their servants. Except for a few wealthy people, the household consisted of not more than 5 or 6 members. Rarely were there more than 2 generations living under the same roof.
If I can add, high mortality and late marriage prevented a formation of families for 3 generations or more. Grandparents rarely lived in the same household as their grandchildren. Families only consisted of parents and their kids. The family structure of Northwest Europe was nuclear, not extended.
That's right. Children lived with their parents until their early teen years. Then they left home to enter the workforce of young servants who lived and worked in another household. A child of a skilled artisan might remain with his or her parents to learn a valuable skill, but not more than one child, because children earn more money working outside of the home.
So those young men and women who left home would eventually form their own independent households, right?
Yes, and the practice of moving away from home is known as neolocalism. These young people married relatively late. Men were usually over the age of 26, and women were over 23. The new couple would have children as soon as possible after marriage. Frequently, women were already pregnant at marriage. And premarital sex was still common.
Were servants a part of these households too?
The new couple would soon employ a servant who, together with their growing children, would undertake whatever form of income the household gave to support themselves.
What do you mean by servant?
In pre-industrial Europe, servant does not necessarily mean a person who looks after the needs of wealthy people. Rather, a servant was a male or female who was hired, often under contract, to work for the head of the household in exchange for room, board, and wages. The servant was usually young and was not always socially inferior to his or her employer. The servant was an integral part of the family.
When did these people become servants?
Young men and women became servants when their labor was no longer needed in their parents' household, or when they could earn money for their family outside of the parental house.
Don't forget about Eastern Europe, Cal.
How could I? In Eastern Europe, both men and women usually married before the age of 20.
So children had much younger parents, right?
Often, especially with Russian serfs, wives were older than their husbands.
But what about household sizes in Eastern Europe?
Eastern Europe was generally larger than that of the West. A rural Russian household consisted of more than 9 and possibly more than 20 people. They had 3, maybe even 4 generations living together. Early marriage made the situation more likely. Marriage in Russia involved not only starting a new household, but remaining in and expanding one already established.
Don't forget about land holding structure.
Stop telling me that.
Chill, just go on with the report.
Fine. The landholding structure in Eastern Europe accounts in part for these patterns of marriage and the family. The lords of the manor who owned the land wanted to ensure that it would be cultivated so they could receive their rents. In Poland, landlords might forbid marriage between their own serfs and those from another state. Not only that, but they might also require widows and widowers to remarry to assure adequate labor for a particular plot of land. Polish landowners also frowned on the hiring of free laborers to help cultivate land. Landlords preferred to use other serfs. This practice inhibited the formation of independent households.
Don't forget about Russia.
Brandon, sorry. In Russia, landlords ordered the families of young people in their villages to arrange marriages within a short set of time. These landlords discouraged single-generation family households because the death or serious illness of one person in such a household might mean the land assigned to it would go out of cultivation.
Don't forget about the family economy.
That's it. Oh, we're going to go to quick commercial break.
Here today, I have some land for all you nobles. Buy a piece of land and you'll get 1 serf free. Absolutely free. No purchase. You buy him, he will be noble to you. He will be loyal. Come guys, I know you want it. Let's go. Tired of being thrown around? Do you want freedom? Do you want land for yourself? Well then, you can fight for land and freedom. We want you to join us. We will train you to be the best. You want to get stronger? We will teach you. Alright guys, 1, 2, alright, quick. 1, 2, push up, go. Let's beat the Russians, go. 1, 2, 3, come on, 5. Let's go. Alright.
Local cities and the Jewish population the age of the ghetto. Between 1500 to 1800, 4 cities called Paris, Milan, Venice, and Naples had population larger than 10,000 people. Social divisions marked the beginning of urban classes divided into 3 categories.
During the Revolution, agriculture, and in the 18th century, many people created new methods to increase crops.
Gerald told you the iron plow would turn the earth more deeply, and he was able to plant more wheat using drills.
Townsend, or sometimes called turnip, had a crop rotation of barley, turnips, wheat, and clovers. This was used to raise livestock better and to feed the livestock during the winter.
Enclosure was a new method that replaced the old method of farming. Old method was the open field method. It made the land a lot more profitable.
Although the enclosure was profitable, it forced the independent farmers of the land and peasants and hated the enclosure.
By the burning of coal, it was more efficient than any other type of engine at the time.
Thomas Newcomen was the creator of the steam engine. Many English miners used the steam engine to pump water out of coal and tin mines.
Although the steam engine was very useful, it was also very large, which made it completely non-transportable.
The steam engine was later modified by Scottish engineer and machine maker James Watt. It made pumping water much more efficient.
Yeah. With news. I'm going ham. Thanks. Look at my hair. The Industrial Revolution changed the world. It put men to work and domesticated girls. Women stayed home and cooked and cleaned. While men went to factories and worked the machines. Now listen to the words that I say. Europe was revolutionized in what way? They became mechanical and commercialized. Open up a whole new door, open up their eyes. We got the spinning Jenny in the water frame, spinning you and the steam engine. Thomas Newcomen and James Watt, they transformed the way in which Europeans thought. Whoa, hold up, big boy. Don't forget about John Kay, the inventor of the flying shuttle, made weaving easier, furnace huddle, removing pure iron ore, made the iron much more pure. Industrial revolution created two new social classes, capitalists and the proletariat. Come on, man, you know what I mean. The UK saw an increase in their workers' wages. Ben and Jenny created by James Hargreaves. Whoa, children worked in factories too. The Factory Act of 1833 made sure that no one under 9 years of age worked. Limited the work take 8 hours. That's the end of the rap. This is K. Lewis and I killed this track.